Hi, welcome Martin and Lucia. How you doing? How are you both doing?
Fine, I'm very well. Thank you.
All right, good.
Very well, thank
Yeah, nice bright sunny morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, today we're making this little video just about QuizSlides, so I'm obviously going to ask you a few questions, but just to set a little bit of context, can you just introduce yourselves? So, Lucia first.
My name is Lucia, I'm a lecturer at Southbank University. I teach computer science, different modules like maths, project management, software engineering.
Okay. And Martin?
I'm Martin Bush. I've been a lecturer here for over 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, it's a long
just
time.
Retired, yeah.
Right, okay.
Retired a few weeks ago. So
Okay.
I'm very happy at the moment. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, good. All right, that sets a little bit of context. So the subject's area, I think, is important as well. All right. Before we get into actually having a look at QuizSlides and what it can actually do, it's more a question for you, Martin, because I think you originated. Was it your idea?
Yeah.
The actual product.
It was. Yeah.
It was it.
Yeah.
Why did you actually? Why did you think there was a need for this?
Okay, so this really came out of me using subset selection as a testing technique. So because I've always taught engineering subjects, I started off in electrical engineering, so my degree's in electronics actually, I started teaching that, and then moved across to computing. So in those kind of subjects, multiple choice tests are a really commonly used thing, especially at first year level at university. And everyone uses the traditional technique, traditional multiple choice tests.
Right.
And I came up with the idea of subset selection, which I guess I need to explain.
Yeah, can you explain that simply? Yeah.
And it's something that I thought I invented, but then
Right.
when I did some more research, I discovered that, not surprisingly, it's quite a simple idea, and other people have had this idea before, but it's not widely known. So let me just explain what it is. So when you have a question and 4 answers, in a traditional test, students are selecting one answer and they either get it right or they get it wrong.
So A, B, C, D, or whatever. Yeah,
That's right. But that's a very kind of crude form of assessment, and students might be guessing, getting the answers right through guesswork. So, so the idea is to say to students that if you can narrow it down to a choice of, for example, 2 options, you can tick both of those options and you'll get a partial mark. Okay, and in fact now we give half a mark.
Right.
Or they could select 3 options and they'd get a third of a mark if one of those was right.
Right.
And if they haven't a clue, they should leave it blank and they'll also get a partial mark, which is 1 out of 4.
Okay.
Because that's equivalent to them making a guess.
Right.
So it's a different way of testing, and you have to sort of help the students to understand it and give them practice tests.
So what is the point of this then?
So-
to stop the student guessing?
Yes,
Right.
that's right. Because
Right.
when students make guesses, it means that they might be lucky or they might be unlucky.
Okay.
And so the testing the test as an assessment tool is sort of imperfect.
Right.
So in my mind, this was a way, and in fact we've done some research which kind of gives us confidence that this is true, and other people have also done research in this area to show that it does in fact lead to more consistent marks when you use subset selection.
Right, I'll come back to the sort of research side of things, but that's a nice and sort of neat intro to what it's all about. Yeah.
Okay, so QuizSlides. So that my original idea was subset selection.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was sort of this makes it sound really old. That was at the turn of the century, and I was using it on paper. So just paper-based tests. And so I was saying to students, you can select more than one answer per question. And it was all done on paper.
And you had to mark them all on paper.
I marked them all on paper as well, but it's not hard when you get used to it. And at that time we had Blackboard, not Moodle, and Blackboard did quizzes, but it didn't do subset selection.
Yeah.
Even Moodle doesn't do subset selection now. Canvas doesn't do subset selection. So anyway, after doing this for a few years, I kind of felt really inspired to tell other people and to create a tool that would allow myself and allow other people to create subset selection tests on a computer, since Blackboard didn't do it, since Moodle doesn't do it. And also I had the idea at that time of putting a PDF document, so you could have one question per page in the PDF document, and somehow this PDF document would be displayed, and next to each page you'd have an A, B, C, D down the side, and students could select A, B, or C, or D, or any combination of those things. And then you press a button, you move on to the next sheet of the PDF and the next sheet. So that was the original idea.
Okay.
And so I decided to go for it. And so I started working with an ex-colleague who helped me to try and implement a prototype.
Right.
And then I felt we needed another person to help out, and Lucia had been an ex-student of mine at South
Right.
Bank, and so I got in touch with her, and luckily time was right. She was looking for work. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about that. So that's how I got Lucia involved.
Great. That's really put some,
Right.
sort of context and reasoning behind it.
Right.
Maybe should we have a look at the actual product now? Yeah. So.
This is the QuizSlides homepage, and we have some demo quizzes. So the
Okay.
default test type. Subset selection is the one that Martin talked about.
Right.
Where we can have a look at another one. Answer until correct. So this quiz, I don't have to identify myself. All I have to do is say I'm not a robot. So that's where I begin. That's an information slide, so there is no question for this one. And I can have as many as I like within the quiz.
Right.
So this is the question slide, and here the slide is basically a PowerPoint slide, which I upload. And for each slide, I have 4 options labeled A, B, C, D. Now, if I select one of the options, this test type is called scratches. And you can see that it slowly reveals
Oh, I see.
whether I got the answer right or wrong.
I quite like that.
So if I get the answer correct, you can see that I have the star revealed. And then I have the mark based on which attempt I got the answer right. So the great thing about QuizSlides is that I can create quizzes in PowerPoint or as Word document or any tool which allows me to export as images.
That sounds good, because I can immediately see most lecturers will be kind of familiar with PowerPoint anyway, so you're using something they're very familiar with as
Yes,
well.
absolutely. So I can use foreign characters, I can use images interspersed with text, formulas, and so on.
Nice.
Would you like to add anything, Martin?
No, just to say that this test format is not the one I was talking about, subset selection, but QuizSlides supports a number of different ones. I think Lucia showed us 4 little demos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Could we have a look at the subset selection?
Yes, absolutely. Subset selection, this one. So this is the one where I can select more than one option.
Okay, so just looking at that, so I've got the question there, and if I was unsure between A and B, I could select both of them as my answer, basically. Yes. Right.
Now this test type is used for mostly summative assessment. That's why after I select the options, it doesn't show me the correct answer.
Right.
So we use this to assess students in class.
Okay.
So I can also skip.
What happens if you, skip?
If you skip, you get quarter of a mark.
Okay.
So this is to discourage students from guessing.
Right.
Or I can alternatively select all 4. Or if I'm absolutely certain which is the correct answer, I can only select one. So I can have complete flexibility.
Selecting all 4, by the way, is the same as skipping.
Right, okay.
Can I just go back and point out the information slide? Do you want to talk about that, Lucia?
So you can have information slide, that means a slide without a question anywhere within the quiz. And this is great for revision slides or for revision, or what was the other one?
Well, you can either present new material to a student and say, read this, and then later on have a question, did you understand what you just read?
Okay.
Or you could have a kind of revision aid where you're giving students questions, and if there's a particularly hard question, you could have a slide after it that explains what the right answer was in case the student didn't know.
All right. So in terms of how it's used then with the students, I can see the layout. I've got the understanding of the subsets and how the marks are awarded. I can see how that would avoid the students just completely guessing. So that's all very clear to me. How would it actually be used with the students? Is it like something you embed into the VLE, or is it a link, or do they use it on their phones? How do you actually use it with the students?
The way we currently use it, if it's for formative assessment, we create a quiz and we just put a link on VLE and they take the test in their own time, and that's great for preparing them for assessment.
Okay.
The other way is to use it for summative assessment, so for assessment where they're marked on it.
Right.
And that's where, after the quiz is set up on QuizSlides,
Yeah.
we will write the URL on the whiteboard.
Okay.
We can put a link in VLE and enable it just at the time when it's supposed to.
So how does QuizSlides identify the students then?
So when we start a quiz, we couldn't see on this particular one, but you have an option to ask students for the name and email address, and that's where you need uniquely identify them.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And then after they submit the quiz, again, as a test creator, I have an option to show them the score straight away after they submit, or I can withhold that score. So again, that's an option.
Okay.
But we normally always show the score because that means we don't have to release the marks afterwards. Students see it straight away, and they like the immediate feedback to be assessed.
Great. That's it really in terms of seeing the product. You've said, Martin, you've done a little bit of research around this. What's that sort of research revealed at all?
Okay, so this was a project actually that Lucia led. It was part of your
PGCHE
qualification. And well, I should let you talk about it. It was a group of 75 first-year students, wasn't it?
So we wanted to gather some data just to see whether subset selection tests do provide more reliable scores. So we compare traditional tests with subset selection. We've used the tests across a cohort of 75 students on the first year. And the results were positive, so they did indicate that subset selection is more reliable than traditional tests. And also students prefer it.
All right.
So students prefer subset selection to traditional tests.
Right. Okay.
And shall I explain a bit more why it's more reliable? Because there's a thing called Cronbach alpha, which is a kind of statistical analysis.
Which I've never heard of.
Well, we haven't. I haven't. But with traditional tests, what you find, not surprisingly, is that sometimes you get students who perform poorly over the test as a whole, and yet nevertheless they answered 2 or 3 difficult questions. They got them right. So a difficult question means not many students got that question right, but these weak students got it right, which is kind of inconsistent. You wouldn't expect that. Okay. Whereas in the subset selection, and that's obviously because they're doing some guessing, because they didn't know what the right answer is and they made a guess and they got lucky.
Right.
Whereas with the subset selection, there was much less of that kind of inconsistency, because when students didn't know what the right answer was, they were skipping ticket and getting their quarter mark.
Right. Okay.
So in that sense, the scores are more consistent.
Great. All right then. So just to sort of end it, really, if somebody was interested in wanting to know more, can they go to that website, or what's the best way to have a look at this? To go to that website, which is that the URL at the top there?
Yes, QuizSlides.co.uk.
Okay, so they can have a look at it via there.
And then you have
If they were actually wanted to know more about it, could they contact either of you two?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
And we've got a free 7-day trial.
So they can sign up for a free trial on our prices page.
Okay.
So they can set themselves up an account automatically. And if they want a longer trial, they're welcome to contact us and request that. We'll be happy to oblige.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So if we just end it there.